Hi guys, I have a longer than normal video here and wanted to explain. I start with a theory I have, and maybe others have it too, based on something I got in a reading a while back. Then I share some historical context to further explain my theory. Then I do 2 readings. The second one was unexpected, but worthwhile, so if it seems like the reading is done, know that there is a part 2. And if you've made it that far, it's worth sticking around for. Also, this is for entertainment purposes only, my impressions and feelings on my cards and a little history. And I also want to thank you all for being in my community. You inspire me to look deeply into things, and it means a lot to have people to share that with. So here you go. Hi guys. I have a reading I want to do that's been on my mind for a long time, and it's a topic that others have asked me to read on. But it's a reading based on a theory, and I want to explain my theory, which I got from a card reading that I did 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. I'm going to use a couple code names here in this reading because I think they're probably names that would be kind of flagged by YouTube, and so I think you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm going to say Billy Barr, or Billy B, I'll say, and Jeffy Epps. Good. So what I got in that reading kind of stunned me. And now that this, to me, makes so much sense that I almost accept it as this is what it is, I almost wonder, maybe everybody else sees it too. That's sort of how it happens when you start to see something clearly. And I've seen all these other things that have come into my awareness that help to validate and make more sense of this theory of mine. And so maybe you guys will be like, yeah, everybody knows this. But to me, it was stunning, and also continues to be stunning when I think of it and see little bits of evidence of it. So, or, the possibility of it is not far-fetched at all. In fact, it makes perfect sense. And of course, it colors a lot of, the things that have happened over the course of Jeffy Epps' life, why he was protected, it seemed, by law enforcement, and maybe also why he suddenly and mysteriously suicided himself, supposedly. We'll see. So what I got in that reading might sound far-fetched, but when you understand basically the time period when this started and the things that were going on in the CIA when I believe this, so the early 1970s, this was under Nixon. Billy B was hired and worked at the CIA from 1973 to 1977. This was a very dark time in the CIA, and this did eventually come out. By dark, I mean paranoid, secretive, and targeting Americans involved in the anti-war movement, civil rights, and the counterculture in general. Any progressive communities were considered a threat. There were a lot of operations that were about spying on Americans. And not only spying, but actually infiltrating groups and just really dark stuff. So the Senate Church Committee trials, you can look that up, of 1975, exposed the CIA for inappropriate spying and other abuses that were done to fellow Americans, specifically targeting the anti-war movement or other dissidents, which to them included the civil rights movement, the hippie movement, feminism, anything progressive that felt rebellious to their traditional and patriotic values that they wanted, and sort of lawful conservatism of behavior. And another thing that came out in all of this is they were obsessed with LSD and mind control experiments, which might seem unrelated to stopping the anti-war movement, but it's actually not. And so I'm going to give a couple examples of other operations that you wouldn't believe would happen but did. Timothy Leary, I kind of trailed off about Timothy Leary in my recording, so I'm just going to summarize here. Leary was kind of a mad genius doctor who fell in love with LSD and actually got fired from Harvard for doing LSD experiments on students while high on LSD. And he became popular and influential in society and got arrested a lot and eventually became an FBI informant to get himself out of all the criminal trouble he had gotten himself into. An FBI report shows that he spied on, quote, radical leftist groups and reported information back to authorities. And just an aside, he would show up to party after party with bags of LSD, and people wonder if he pushed LSD onto the hippie movement at the direction of the government, knowing how obsessed our government was with LSD, because they wanted that anti-war movement to focus on anything but politics and protesting. Plus, it helped criminalize the movement in the eyes of the public, allowing the government to be rougher on them. You know, I think people might have different thoughts on Timothy Leary, that he was actually a true hippie leader. I don't know enough. Every time I look into this stuff, I go into a rabbit hole, but... And I thought about reading on Timothy Leary, maybe I will, but like, did they tell you to bring in the LSD into the parties and say, let's forget about politics as a way of solving that problem that they had? There's a movie called Judas and the Black Messiah, which came out actually in the last couple years. It's a great movie. And you don't even have to see the movie, but it's a really good movie. You can look into that story. True story, I should say, as it really did happen. And I'm not giving anything away because this happens in like the first 2 scenes. So this is really what the movie is about. Small-time criminal, a black guy, African-American guy, gets arrested for stealing a car while impersonating an FBI agent. So the FBI brings him in to say, you can avoid jail if you do this for us. We want you to infiltrate the Black civil rights power movement and spy on them for us. And there was this great leader at the time, Fred Hampton. You can look into that. And he was a very charismatic, the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, who was like starting to really build a movement. And I guess the government didn't like it. That government did not like it. They did a lot of spying on the civil rights movement. It was just a paranoid time. So that's what I'm trying to portray here. And while the informant, he did this to avoid jail time, and they sort of talk you into like, you're doing something good for society if you do this. But he felt, terrible doing it. There was a lot of inner conflict, obviously, as a black man, like spying on this black group for all these white men. And he also realized that there were other people like him that were also pretending to be part of the movement. And this other guy was not only doing what he was doing, but was also part of his job was to come up with very violent ideas and to get people to behave badly, basically. And this just sort of blew this guy's mind. Like, he went back to his guy at the FBI and said, you can't let this happen. People are going to die. And it's like, well, you know what? This is for the better good of our society, is for these groups to do bad things, because then we can attack these groups and be justified. The length of evil that they would go through to sort of control society, to get society back, to what they felt was on track. So I'm using these examples of like, get the hippies taken care of, get the civil rights movement taken care of. So now we get to my theory. So the fact is that Bill Barr was working at the CIA from 1973 to 1977. In 1974, Jeffy Eppy was hired by Donald Barr to be a math teacher at the Dalton School where Donald Barr was the headmaster. It's important to note that the Dalton School, where Donald Barr was headmaster, was the most elite and progressive school in Manhattan. The parents of the students were the richest and most powerful in politics, media, and business, and the liberal set, and their kids would grow up to be the same. I think Epi was meant to ingratiate himself into this community as one of them, which he did, and it was in these elite circles that he remained his whole life. I also think he was meant to influence the students in a way Donald Barr could not. Epi was young and acted hip anyway, whereas Donald Barr was considered the one old, stuffy, bitter conservative on campus. And he was actually getting pushed out of his position right when he hired Epi. Epstein had no credentials, didn't even finish college. He was a very charismatic guy who had been working in finance in Manhattan. And I watched a documentary on him, and it's people who worked with him at that finance. He was a troublemaker. He was always pushing boundaries of right and wrong, and a party guy, that kind of thing. I think he even got let go from that agency. And my guess is that he actually did break the law. And so it was the same kind of situation where they were like, we have this on you, we can send you to jail, or you can do this job for us. I'm not saying, by the way, that they intended to use underage people in any of this. I think he was just supposed to throw parties. I think Jeffy Epps became a monster that they did not expect him to become. I think he maybe turned on them, just sort of kept growing his thing and getting weirder and weirder in his own sickness, and that with the knowledge that they can't touch him. Maybe he threw parties and invited their friends. I don't know. I think it, but my point is, I'm not saying that they were that depraved. I think they just figured there would be willing women that Jeffy Epps would know that would be just as bad for, a married man who's in society and politics, and then now they've caught him, they've got him doing these things, and it's like now they own that guy because they have this dirty information on him. Whether or not they were trying to take down powerful liberal leaders or simply spy, but I think it doesn't hurt. And this is the kind of stuff that they were getting down and dirty and doing, was getting people to do bad things and taking down these movements. So also Donald Barr, there's this great article that I'll share. It's a Vanity Fair article. It's the untold tale of young William Barr among the Manhattan liberals. And this really paints a picture of both Donald and young Billy Barr. This was a very liberal elite school, and they were conservative and not really from that same world. And they hated the hippies and the liberals. And Donald Barr was a very bitter guy, always sort of trying to change these people at the school. Students and parents actually referred to him as Captain Queeg, who was a character from the Caine Mutiny, who is a paranoid and slightly insane disciplinarian who obsessively tries to keep order but can't. He wrote essays and articles demonizing the anti-war and civil rights movements. He scolded and demeaned the students that attended them, calling them limousine liberal protesters. And some students even reported that they felt threatened by him, that their grades and future would suffer by their involvement in the anti-war movement. He really felt, it was like that you get the attitude that they really felt like liberalism was this dangerous, disgusting, lawless, remember also it was the sexual revolution. So I feel that there was also the sense that society was becoming perverted. And Donald Barr also was in the OSS, which was an intelligence agency before the CIA. It was created during World War II. It was formed to coordinate espionage activities behind any enemy lines, as well as using propaganda, subversion, and other things. It basically, when it dissolved, it turned into the CIA. So I just find it interesting that Donald Barr had this history at the OSS, and then his son gets a job at the CIA. And Bill Barr was working in like the law area of the CIA, but you know, I don't know how it works. I don't know who comes up with operations, but it's my theory that they wanted someone to be spying on these upper crust liberals at the school. They wanted to bring in somebody who could pretend to be, there's another article that I'll share in the notes, NPR, a young Jeffrey Epstein made an impression on his high school students. So Jeffrey Epstein came in almost theatrically into this school. He would wear fur coats and wild like bell bottoms, right? I mean, it's so funny to look at it now. It's like almost like a conservative's idea of what a cool hippie is. Like, it seems cartoon-like when you see it. Like, and he went into this school and sort of like was a big talker, and all these people would surround him to listen to his wisdom and all that. And so anyway, my theory is that he was there to pretend to be a guy, to befriend the parents at these school would be the powerful people in media and politics. I feel like they brought him in to sort of get into this community and be one of them. And not only be one of them, but similarly, like they like to find people with charisma to become leaders, like the people they found to infiltrate. Like Timothy Leary was very charismatic. And they knew that. And, you know, like, do they trap these people and say, you're either going to go to jail or you're going to lead the hippies into a different direction? And to like those guys they found to infiltrate the black movements, like, we need you to go in and become the leader or get them to do bad things so that we can get tougher on them, that sort of thing. And similarly, I believe that that was something that Jeffy Epps had that they found they could use for this purpose. So I will also say that hiring Jeffy Epps was the last thing Donald Barr did in his career as headmaster at Dalton. It was the summer, he hired him to start in the fall, and then he retired. And it was very surprising to everyone around him. So I find that interesting also. It wasn't like he hired him because he wanted to hang out with him. He hired him and then like left. I'm reading now that Donald Barr was actually more or less pushed out by parents and the board and basically allowed to resign or else be fired. One New York Times article from 1974 says he was accused by members of the school board of turning a, quote, humanistic progressive school into one in which discipline and authoritarian rule were the hallmarks. So I wonder if in his paranoia and spite at being pushed out in this humiliating way from this important school, he left behind a spy in Jeffy Eppy. And his loyal son Billy, who saw everything the exact same way as his dad, had pull at the CIA to help make it happen officially, like a formal operation, and maybe even to be Eppy's handler. Which is, by the way, what I saw in that Billy B reading from a while ago. A lover's card beneath the surface hit me as he and Jeffy Epps in some sort of partnership, at least at one point in their lives, which drove a lot of Billy B's life and continues to as well. And the handler-informant relationship feels exactly right. A handler that lost control but is still responsible for what he started. So yeah, the CIA wasn't just spying, they were infiltrating societies that they saw as a threat in the liberal or progressive movements. We know this. What we don't have is evidence that he was one of them when a lot of this stuff came out. And so I want to point out that while Billy B was in the CIA, he had there are evidence of records of him requesting the destroying of certain records. There are at least 2 different requests that were put in. Somehow, and then again, by the way, when Trump was president, he had troves of records destroyed at the CIA from 30 years ago. Anything like, he's like, if it's been 30 years, we can destroy all these records. That's what he decided, and that was done. So that just seems like a strange thing to think of right now. Why would you do that? So I guess that's everything. You have a picture of Donald Barr and Bill Barr growing up in this space of elite liberals and hating them and believing they were taking down society. And it was a paranoid time, the Nixon era. And so they wanted to take them down by hiring this extremely charismatic party guy who would be like, hey, I'm one of you. Let's go have a party and talk about liberal issues. And then out comes the drugs and the orgies. And this is my theory. And you might notice also, I find it interesting, it seems like he really targeted Bill Clinton, didn't he? I'm not saying, I have no idea if Clinton did anything wrong. I don't know. But he sure was wined and dined. And it's like sort of interesting. And I don't know when, if Epi is a operation, when that ended, or if he continued to be sort of an, you know, still serving them in some way with information from these parties and all the contacts he was making. It's like when I say it, it makes all the sense in the world. And the CIA had, like I said, when this would have started in 1974, they were in that dark place of doing these kinds of operations that were completely against, that were targeting other US citizens. They're not allowed to do that anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. But in 1974, it still happened. They were feeling like we're in wartime, but the war is with the liberals, and we have to go in and do all these dirty operations to get a handle on things. And you know, like there are operations that they would do in other countries that would be like this sort of honey, I think it's called a honeypot operation. Yeah, they would do honeypot operations in other countries. It just would be a matter of, well, it's wartime here, we have to do it here now. So what is the reading I want to do? I just feel like I'm supposed to do this reading because it keeps going through my head. And I'll tell you, interesting, the devil, as I pull it out, right? See, it's telling me, yes, do this reading. Oof, that's dark. I will say that I do feel, and I'm feeling from this card, is that Jeffy Epps became the devil. And I had that thought when I was like kind of researching this stuff. It's like, what do they say? Like, it's like making a deal with the devil. That's what they did with him. And then he grew his thing and then controlled them. And that's, of course, why they could never really, because ultimately he had the information on them. A story that would blow the minds of Americans to find out that this sick criminal, who's now very famous for being very sick, was an operation meant to trap people and then control them. And then I guess really also the question is, was Billy B involved in what happened to him? His ending, his surprising ending in that jail, right? Whew, my head is getting really hot. Which makes me feel like we're getting into something. Okay. Sorry that took so long. I knew it would take a while to explain, but I just had to like get all those details out. So what we want to know, we want to read on this relationship. Oh yeah, and I was going to say one thing about that reading that I also remembered was that at the end there was an upside down sun. And in the reading I was like, oh, okay, that means we're going to find out eventually. But then as soon as I finished, I'm like, no, an upside down sun means we're not going to find out. It is not going to see the light of day. So I don't really know why I'm supposed to read on it. Of course, things can change. I mean, the fact that it's an upside down sun means there's something to see. It's just that it's locked down. It's being covered. So let's see if we get maybe a new answer here in this reading that will tell us that maybe something is going to come out. We are going to find out this horrible history involving these people. So, okay, so our question is, first of all, am I right about this theory? Is it true? And what else can you tell us about it? How do they answer if I'm right? Let's see. Am I right? Is it true? Were they partners, or was it both Donald and Bill Barr who came up with this? So Bill Barr, Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Barr, oh my God. All right, well, we have a 2 of Wands. covered by the Temperance. Yep. Then the Four of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles. I don't know if I should have flipped these. They just fell out, but I mean, the two, there's a partnership, right? And this would be the beginning of an operation, because the Two of Wands is the start of something, walking through a new doorway. And it would be something that is an idea. I feel the spying, like when you look through a doorway like that is created by the Two Wands, there's a, we want you to be a doorway into this world where they're not going to invite us to the parties. They're not going to talk to us about their plans. We want you to go in and do that. Temperance, I think, is also covered by Temperance. So I think this is validating what I said, like that they wanted to just do a little bit of this, not a lot of it. Not that that makes them like, well, okay, they didn't really want it to get into underage stuff. No, they wanted to do a little bit of it, not a lot of it. And I think it got out of hand, because Temperance would be like, just do a little of this. Just get them, you know, just spy a little bit. Just get them to do a little bit of bad stuff. And then, and I believe it got out of hand. The Four of Pentacles at the top would say, I think that Billy B or who these people feel pretty secure. This would be like holding that there's like a security. They're holding things close. Four of Pentacles is also a card of conservatism and control and an almost desperate holding on to power and money, which feels exactly right here. And so they feel certainly secure in that. Seven of Pentacles. Someone's sitting on something, though. Do you see that? This is like, this crow is like a crow's nest. Beneath the surface, someone's sitting on some information. Maybe it's that Ghislaine. Let's see what else. I mean, she would be the only one who could still, like, say something like that. And whoever's up here feeling secure may not know that there's still some of this down here. It's interesting also that the feeling of security or control at the top is what they would have wanted from an operation like this. The goal was that they would be the ones sitting on information in order to hold on to power. I forgot to flip some upside down. I'm going to do that right now. Oh, wow. Okay. We've got the death card here in the recent past. So I was wondering if there's, the only reason this would come up now for me to read would have to do with what happened in that jail cell. That is something that could come up. The suicide. This apparent suicide. Let's see. So the near future, what have we got coming? Is there something more that's going to come out in relation to this? Is a mirror? Okay. Oh, the Lovers. Oh my goodness. So it could be Ghislaine. There could be something that's going to come up with her. I also want to say this Lovers card is the exact card that came up in my read on Billy B from a while ago, the one that made me think or realize this whole theory, that he and Jeffy Epi had a type of partnership or agreement. So it's definitely interesting that it showed up in this read as well, very validating to that theory. And in this spot, it suggests something may come up soon that gets people talking about that again. Oh my goodness. Remember I said the upside down sun card? This is crazy. I swear I did not set this up. Here it is. Definitely validating me. That's wild. And by the way, there are some really big cards here. Upside down sun card, and now it's here, which is interesting. There is something that could be revealed. It's being covered up right now. I didn't even have any, I literally just did, I always go through and make sure there's no upside down cards, and then I flip. Anyway, So we know there's things covered up. Current environment. Queen of Pentacles. Okay. Hopes and fears. Eight of Pentacles. Interesting. Pentacles, a lot of pentacles, which is money, and it's making me wonder. I mean, this could be, again, referring to Ghislaine. Maybe she managed the money side of things, or it could be an investigator who is investigating the money side of things. This is hopes and fears would be something about the money exchanged. Maybe he was paid by the government. Maybe that's what's hidden and someone's got it. Maybe Billy B didn't manage to destroy all the records. Maybe there's something that puts it together. I wonder if someone is trying to get some records unsealed, which any citizen has the right to do, because that upside down sun feels exactly like that, sealed records, and this Queen of Pentacles feels like someone working to get that info. And it could actually be Ghislaine doing it. And then let's see final outcome. Is there something more that's going to come out on this topic that's going to open our eyes about all the mysteries, right? The moon, all the mysteries. The moon is all the mystery, is the card of mysteries. Huh. It's interesting. If you look, there's a definite man behind the curtain vibe to this card, very Wizard of Oz, which feels so perfectly and exactly referential to my theory once again. Okay. I gotta see more about this moon card. Let's see what we have underneath. The Knight of Swords. Upside down. Illusion, delusion. Here's the Two of Cups again. Partners, Ace of Cups. I'm gonna take these 5. Now, being on the bottom of the deck would be like another sort of things happening beneath the surface kind of thing. A Knight of Swords like this would be someone's coming forward to save the day. Here we come to save the day upside down with an illusion delusion card. So I think what we have here in this Knight of Swords is the operation that I talked about, and it's upside down because it is corrupt. They really thought they were Knight of Swords. We're going to come and get these pervy libs with our guy infiltrating. This is what we have to do. It's so corrupt, upside down. Illusion delusion is like similar to what I was said. He's walking around with these bell bottoms. Look at me, I'm a liberal. I'm a wild guy. Be my friend. Let's party. Let's do interesting things together. He was an illusion. Oh my God. And this Two of Cups, like, and it's interesting. Look at these crows are kind of kissing. So yeah, I mean, come over to this party. Hey, here's some girlfriends of mine. You want to meet them? That sort of thing. Oh, it's so gross. I mean, it's just so amazing to think. It's gross anyway, but to be this illusion delusion, to be doing it not only in general, but in order to entrap people. And for sure he sort of went forward with it in his own way and became his own boss, doing even worse things because he's a sick person and now he knows how to do it. He was taught by the CIA. Here's how you do it. And then he took that on his own and became his own operation, his own King of Wands. Yep, man. I want to also include that Hermit card that you can see on the left of my table. I feel that was meant to be with these cards right after the King of Wands, and it's speaking to me now loud and clear that yes, he did break away to go off on his own, to do his own thing. That's what the Hermit does. So I feel, yes, it's validated here. He went off on his own to be his own king of his own operation. This Ace of Cups is sort of preying upon... Oh, interesting. Actually makes me think they drugged people. Oh my gosh. I think they drugged people to get them to behave badly, to catch them doing bad things. Oh my God, I want this stuff to come out. I hope you guys don't think I'm totally crazy on this. You know, it's all just kind of, we're all just making guesses and speculating until we know the facts, right? Let's read a little more on the outcome. So we've got it, mysteries. There's truths that are there to come out. What do we got? The moon. That could just be telling us it's going to remain a mystery. This is the outcome. But so interesting that this showed up. I think it's really telling us that part of the operation was this death. It had to be, like, they were like, it has to be done. Because why else would it show up in this? Yeah, I do believe, I know some have asked me to read on that, and that's what I think I'm getting from the card. It was part of the operation. I think there's stuff that someone's sitting on, and I think it's Ghislaine. She's sitting on stuff, and in your future, there's gonna be something that comes out on the lovers is a partnership. So maybe some more strange stuff that links Billy B to Jeffy Epps. Look for that. The moon, okay. 8 of Cups, walking away from something. The Hanged Man. I think that Billy B is about to walk away from, I don't know what. He wants to get away. Will he lose his, maybe he loses his license, or maybe he retires before they can take it away from him, right? He walks away. Unfortunately, this 6 of Cups could also indicate something being abandoned, like a case that gets dropped, which would definitely add to the mystery of why these people are so protected and could inspire new investigations and demands for getting to the truth of this. The Hanged Man would be like, oh, okay. I'm gonna go like that. Okay. Oh, Ace of Wands, okay. That's actually pretty big. That's a judgment. So that's interesting. Ace of Wands. Or it could be like, Ace of Wands can also be like a new interest. It doesn't always mean a judgment. Or a new investigation that arises out of whatever is coming here with this walking away or abandoning of something. It will not go unnoticed. It will generate new interest and possibly a new investigation that could, unfortunately, still take a while to play out, as these things always do. Definitely newfound interest on the mystery. Maybe it's because he walks away. Maybe it's something else. The Hangman says, if you're waiting for something, you're going to keep waiting. I mean, wait a minute. Unless it's being very literal. Didn't Epi hang himself? The death, the mystery of the hanging. So something coming up anyway, something new coming up to add to the mystery. And I do now think this is definitely referencing what we talked about here. The actual hanging, the mystery of it. It's not over. As far as that chapter just being like, well, that happened and it's over. There's something else that will come up. Like, I don't know, like, did someone see someone leaving the premises? Could be someone like leaving the job and then maybe telling us more, walking away from the lie. I'll take one more peek under here. So this was long-term outcome, more energy going into this mystery, the world, completion, totality. It's almost like that thing, putting all the pieces together. In a more literal sense, also, I feel Epi had no loyalty to the US. I think he considered the US to be provincial and unsophisticated because he was so full of himself. So I'm sure he enjoyed trafficking information to other world leaders. I feel it was all a game to him. Like a gambler, he needed more and more of the thrill of power for his ego, so naturally he would have expanded his operation to the world stage. It's like this is like the real destiny that we are going to put all the pieces together. All the strange pieces. We all know there's a connection between those two. What is it? I think I know what it is. It explains why he has been able to slip through the system. And the more they let him go, the worse they are, and the more they have to hide what they're doing. It's just like this terrible cycle. The world is also a cycle. And it's not over. Something's coming up. Something's coming up that will bring things, that will bring attention to that mystery. And this upside down sun, that there is something to see that is covered up. I don't think it's gone yet. And it could be in the information that Ghislaine has. I think that's why she's so cocky, like she's so arrogant. She's sitting on something. So we'll see. Anyway, I just really wanted to like share that because it's just one of those things you want to like tell someone your theory. And I know a lot of you guys have sort of asked me to read on that a little more. And so that's my theory, and I feel validated here with that flying out. That to me is the operation covered by the temperance. This temperance is also like we need to manage the situation. So it's like, yes, that happened and they want to manage it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye. So I'm having a weird thing where I feel like I am tapping into the person we just talked about, Jeffy Epps, and I'm not afraid of him. I don't mind doing this and reading on him. I don't think he has special dark powers. I think he just thinks he's a cool guy who's a sleaze. I think he's just a sleazy guy who justifies his behavior, thinks he's superior, and is just gross. So, all right, I'll ask him, what's your relationship with Billy B? Were you a CIA agent, operation? Did they pluck you up to infiltrate the liberal elites? What's the story? Okay, 9 of Wands, upside down. Got it. This would be, you're going to jail. You didn't want to go to jail, okay? Okay, and then what? This makes me so angry when I think about this. I'm like, you didn't want to go to jail. Oh, and look at this, the Hierophant. The government stepped in. The deciders of right and wrong stepped in. This is crazy. Okay. At the surface of things. Judgment. Well, that's for sure. But you're right. It's like, yeah, people are really angry and upset. Why did nobody do anything about this? That is definitely what's on the surface of the situation now. Six of Pentacles is like charity, like giving things out. Okay. Right. When Epps was arrested and they were like, we need to just make it look like you served time. And that will be good enough, right? We'll just give you a little bit. We'll give you a little bit. That's the charity that was given to you. Is what has people rising up in arms like, are you kidding me? I mean, that picture, are you kidding me? Okay. I see what you're saying here. Near past, recent past, the lovers. Okay, I think this might be validating and saying, yeah, it was, I said recent past, but I mean, there's no other way to show the past other than this side of the read, and it's the lovers, and that is the card I got that made me think that in that read I did 6 months ago. I saw this card down here beneath Bill Barr reading I was doing, and I thought they were partners, and now he's validating it to me now. They were partners in this little operation. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Move into hopes and fears for a second. Yeah, the fear is that someone's gonna give up the information. This is a news story that could come out. There it is again, that 8 of Cups, walking away from a situation. Loss. Three of Wands. Ace of Cups. Okay, I think I understand this. Okay. So this Page of Cups with this 4 of Swords that you saw fly out like that, right? This brings me to, first of all, you can see this little fish sort of whispering to this crow, right? And I think, so someone's talking about, okay, this 4 of Swords would be the falling asleep. I was sitting here wondering, okay, is this about, was Jeffy Epps put to sleep? But remember, I think one of the guards said he fell asleep. Look at this Page of Cups. Was there something put in his drink to make him fall asleep? Do you see what I'm saying? And on top of that, I feel there's a whispering about this going on. So that's what I'm getting in relation to, right. And if that's the case, because my question was, you know, is this true about this partnership, the lovers? Yes, it is. And the question, and so this is pointing to that. And the sort of question of why did this guy fall asleep? Was he given something to fall asleep? I believe he was, yes. This is a 4 of Wands. This, I was like wondering about this because this is like a homecoming and a celebration and all this, but I sat with it for a while, couldn't quite figure it out. I believe this is the island. Okay, it's coming up here in this read. And it occurs to me when I was in that other read and I was like, that there still is evidence that's unseen by us, right? It would be at the island, right? Because like Billy B could have hidden and gotten rid of all kinds of records, but guess who would have had the records? It would have been him. And they would have been at the island, and he would have been holding them, those records, to control the situations and hold it against the Billy Bees and others in power, the actual United States government. He would have had the records of these operations that he needed in order to hold it over them. So that is telling me a lot. Okay. Yes, the guy was put to sleep at the front desk who was supposed to, yeah. And, oh man, and yes, the evidence of what I'm talking about would be hidden at the island. Crazy that he's telling me this. And I gotta say, I did wonder, does this mean he's alive somewhere? Because I know that's been a theory. I went to my pendulum. I do not believe he is, okay? Obviously he's somewhere, but he's not alive on this earth. Hopes and fears would be the Page of Swords. Yeah, like I said, that would be a news story. Someone with information coming out. Hopes and fears for him was always about information. He trafficked in it, and ultimately it was information that brought him down, thanks to a journalist. So that card makes a lot of sense here. I don't really know how to read this final outcome. I had to remind myself this is a reading on him, so this would be the outcome of his life. That Five of Cups to the left says he felt genuine loss and devastation before he died, which is good, a tiny bit of justice. The Eight of Cups at the top is his death, his leaving life. And I feel it was with great regret, but I think the regret is that he didn't want the life he knew before prison to end. But I feel resolve in his regret, like he knew he had to die. It was the only way things could go. So he wasn't surprised, but he was very emotional. The Ace of Cups beneath the surface is a strong, brand new wave of emotion rising up. So I do think he was overwhelmed with emotion right as he died. And that Three of Wands to the right feels like he now just waits and watches the world from wherever he is. And I feel it is with a little bit of envy and a lot of loneliness. He's extremely alone. I don't think he crossed over to any heavenly realm. He's isolated himself and just watches and waits, thinking something is going to change or come for him. Maybe he's waiting for someone else to cross over, interesting, so that he's not alone. But I don't think his ship is ever going to come in, and maybe that's his eternity. So I feel like that's all we've got for now. Yeah, this was the charity they gave him that everybody now can see clearly and is judging. But there is that validation, and it's very interesting. I'm definitely going to ask this guy, like, okay, got it, thank you. You can go. You know, I will say at the bottom of the deck is a Queen of Swords. This would be an investigator. Could also be a journalist investigator. I know that Julie K. Brown is a journalist that has covered a lot and uncovered a lot on this. Sort of waving. I hope so. I hope there is an investigator who's on this. Oh, Seven of Swords would be taking the information. So I know there was a bunch of stuff taken from that island. Are they going to continue to cover this up to protect the U.S. government? I mean, you'd think this would be too awful a thing to ever come out, that Jeffy Epps was controlling the U.S. government. But hey, maybe someone who cares about the truth, will give us the information. Put it all out there. This 10 of Pentacles would be everything. We want to see everything. I'm now noticing that Three of Cups on the table to the left, which was the next card. Upright, this would be three people gathering together to celebrate, and it's upside down. Corrupt, secretive, hidden. And I can't help but think of my theory. Donald Barr, Billy B, and their star spy Jeffy Epps making their dark arrangement back in the day that I think resulted in so many terrible things. Please, 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 we want to see everything. We can handle it, even if bad stuff happened. Through an institution that we trust, the Hierophant, the institutions. The institutions, He was going to go to jail. He didn't go to jail because the institutions used him. So that was weird. I'm gonna burn some sage and like do some chanting to clear my energy. I thank you for watching. I hope you found that interesting. It was weird and I added it, and I think that will be that. That will be it for me on this. Just keep hoping that truths keep coming out, and we can see things clearly because we can handle it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.